Well, I will go ahead to start the 2022 Council Finance Committee meeting. Today is January 28th, 2022. My name is Tracy Tillman, and I have been appointed chairperson over on the Michigan City Finance Committee. Also, if I would like to begin with taking roll call. Councilman Paul Przybylski.
Present.
Councilman Sean Fitzpatrick. No. No, Mr. Fitzpatrick. We do have a quorum. We will be able to move forward with today's finance meeting. I would also like to acknowledge those that is also in attendance via Zoom, and that would be Councilman Bryant Dabney, and we also have with us this morning Mrs. Yvonne Hoffmaster from the City Controller's Office. Today's Finance Committee meeting is going to be in regards to review the claims and funds number 2031 Boyd Development and funds from number 2042 Riverboat, and also to discuss the MVH and local roads and street funds. If I may also include, we also now have Councilwoman President Madam Angie Deitch that has joined us as well. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yep. Good morning, everyone.
Okay. I would like to now have Councilman Paul Przybylski, had you had an opportunity to look over docket claims for February 2nd?
I did not get it. Wait a second.
That was it, right? That's it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we have anything else.
Give me a couple seconds here. I overlooked that in my information, I believe. But
I just wanted to get clarification if you received the information before I move forward.
Yeah, that's the next meeting.
All right,
I did not get that information in my mail slot. It was not in my mail slot.
Okay.
can you just read it, what it is, and have Yvonne give an explanation?
Yes. I just wanted to make sure that to see if he had it or not. And so
I do have the other information that was sent out on the explanation letter from the MVH information.
Okay. And if I may also acknowledge that Councilman Sean Fitzpatrick has also joined the meeting.
Right.
So currently for the Michigan City Riverboats and Boyd claims docket for January. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. It just kicked me out of there. Okay, my apologies for that. The Michigan City Riverboat Boyd claims docket for February 1st, 2022 reads as the Riverboat $19,711.83. Boyd Development, EFT, $120,000. Total claims, $139,711.83. I would like to ask the Finance Committee, do they have any questions at this time in regards to Funds
Yes.
2031 or Funds 2042?
Yes, I have a question on, what is the Boyd Development Fund going for?
Would you like me to answer that?
Yes, would you please, Mrs. Hoffmaster?
This 120,000 is the money that's, it was transferred to the newly created, city-sponsored special events fund. And this money is going to be used, to, help fund I believe, I forget how many events Terry said that we had this year. So that's what all this money is going to be used for, the marketing and advertising of the events, any money needed to get the events set up, and then any revenue that is received from these events will be put directly back into this fund. And our hope is after this first year that we have recouped the majority, if not all of this $120,000, that we will not have to appropriate money next year to be put in this fund to help get these events all set up.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Hoffmaster. Would this also be the one and the same in regards to the resolution with ordinance that was presented by Councilman Dabney? Mr. Dabney, Councilman Dabney, could you elaborate on that, please?
What was that?
In regards to the $120,000, was this what was presented to the council to pass?
Wait a minute.
Okay, thank you.
With those
If you'd
resolutions,
like to elaborate on that, I appreciate it.
I can elaborate on it.
I'm sorry? Okay, moving forward, I do,
Just a minute on this.
Well,
I can't hear you, Councilman Dabney.
That was Councilman Paul Privilinski, but I think what Councilman Dabney said, though, he said Mrs. Hoffmaster could elaborate on if that's what that resolution or ordinance is for.
Okay. Thank
I'm
you.
not sure what resolution you're talking about. I'm trying to find the agenda. Is this on the council's agenda?
It would have been, yes.
Okay, hang on one second. Let me find the agenda. Okay, for February 1st. Let me see what's on here.
It would have been under prior.
Oh. Yeah, because I'm not sure what resolution you're talking about. This $120,000 was appropriated in the 2022 budget last year in October when the council passed the budget.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Hoffmaster.
well, I have a question on something on this keeping track of the money, and if I may, everything that was talked about, that Yvonne said that what they're going to do, is that in creating this fund, was there an enabling ordinance on giving directions on how this fund would be used, and what exactly how the money is going to be tracked? Because I don't think we passed anything that, everything that you talked about is well and good, Yvonne, but I think specifically that, there needs to be a reporting, issue with some of these funds. And, I know that, is there an enabling ordinance going to be, passed on regulating this money?
Yes, Mrs. Hoffmaster.
Yep, I'm trying to look under the Muni Code to find the actual ordinance. Last year, the city council passed an ordinance creating this fund, and in that ordinance, it states exactly what this fund can be used for. And Councilman Przybylski, to answer your question, that is the purpose of creating a special fund, because anything and everything that is spent or it will be outlined will go through this special fund. So it will be itemized, every dollar that goes in and every dollar that comes out. And I'm just not using the right sort criteria. We've got special events about 112 places in this Muni Code, so I can't find the exact ordinance number, but I will find that today and send that off to everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Paul Przybylski and Controller Hoffmaster. I do have a question in regards to the board EFT payment for $19,711.83, which was a bill for dance, landscaping, and lawn maintenance, which was for the snowplow for the sidewalks. I had received a phone call from Councilman Don Przybylski, who also followed up with dance, landscaping, had conversations with him in regards to the cost of this purchase of the 2019 snowplow, how it was conveyed to him. And to me, he indicated that he was told that the cost was going to be $12,000, but I'm seeing the bill for $19,711.83. And I would just like to know, why is there a $7,000 difference? Was this renegotiated? And then also, I would like to know in regards to those funds are coming out from the riverboat, and I'm just curious as to why isn't it coming out of the street department equipment account or their line item? Would you be able to answer that, Controller Hoffmaster?
Yes.
No.
There is no money appropriated in the street department for equipment. The street department's equipment is budgeted in the riverboat. That's why we paid for it out of the riverboat. There was money budgeted for tractors in the riverboat for the street department. So we're pulling the invoice right now because I believe it was the main piece of equipment, like tractor, and then it had attachments or something for it. So that's why the cost was like $19,000.
Okay, but it doesn't indicate this on the equipment bill that was included with the claims, and only thing on the equipment bill for the sale, it just gives a description of the item and the cost. It doesn't mention any additional parts or attachments was included.
Yep. So this this says just a sidewalk snow vehicle. Like I said, I don't know what Councilman Don Przybylski was told, but this was the invoice that was submitted to us when we received the tractor. So okay. I don't know what he was told. I don't know what $12,000 was. I was just told that this was the tractor with all of the equipment that would be able to remove the snow.
Okay. Is there any way that we can, I don't believe that Mayor Perry is on here because in that conversation, Councilman Don Prisbalinski indicated that he had communications with the mayor in regards to this and that the quote was one and the same to him as well for $12,000. And when I brought this to his attention, well, that the invoice says $19,000, then that raised concerns with him as I. So is there any way that you could find out what all that 19,000? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can reach out to Mr. Carabine
Okay.
and ask him for a detail of what was all included with this.
Okay.
And see what we get back from him. Like I said, we were handed this invoice. We had possession of the tractor already. So we processed that for payment.
And just for those that this equipment has been used, it has been visually seen being utilized, and thus far it has been functioning, doing as it needs to be doing, starting, I believe, on Michigan Boulevard, which hopefully at that point then they will be able to move forward to do the other main sidewalks such as Franklin Street as well. Councilman Sean Fitzpatrick, do you have any questions or concerns?
I thank you, Madam Chair. I think you guys covered a lot of the questions that I had, so not at this time.
Okay.
I have a comment about that also, Tracy.
Yes, go ahead, Councilman Paul Prisbalinski.
Well, I personally don't think that money should be coming out of the Boyd, out of the Riverboat or Boyd development, that it should be coming out of somewhere in the general fund. I think we run to these funds too many times when apparently there's extra money around that can be utilized. And I am not in favor. I'm in favor of getting equipment to do the snow, but I am not in favor of taking money out of the Riverboat or the Boyd development for this item. There's other funding available in city funds to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Prisbalinski. And just lastly on this, Controller Hoffmaster, would you be able to confirm or not, did the city obtain 3 quotes due to that this was over a $15,000 purchase? Did it meet the city purchasing policy?
I do know that that they had, I believe Sean had inquired with a couple of other vendors, and he was looking at spending like $70,000.
But that was,
I just did a real quick lookup on a used piece of this equipment, and it says the retail price on this is $39,611. So that was just a quick Google search on this, just for your information. But I do know the street director, Sean Smith, had inquired on, a couple of places, and they weren't even able to guarantee that we would have one by this summer.
okay, but again, is there any, I think that would be a conversation, and I do apologize. I should have had Mr. Smith on here in regards to this to find out, to still see what those quotes were.
Okay, I'll have him forward that to the committee and the council.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving forward, I would need a motion on approving the funds for number 231 and the development funds number 2042. Do I have a motion to approve? No motion to approve these claims?
No. go forward?
If I may, Madam
with no
Chair,
motion?
I think once we get the rest of the information that was requested, I think maybe by then, by the meeting, we may have a little more insight as to what these invoices are and what all it is that would need to be paid out. So I don't have a recommendation at this time.
Okay. With that
Can I
being
ask a
said,
question?
yes.
Today is, what is today? Today is Friday. So are you requesting the information, and will you have a follow-up meeting prior to the council meeting on Tuesday to discuss again, or are you just going to leave it at the leave it up to the council to vote on it based on what we receive?
If the finance committee is available, I would like to, if we could meet again on February 10th.
No, the meeting is
Well,
February 1st.
The meeting is February 1st.
Oh, you want it before February 1st?
I
Okay.
mean, if we're going to approve the claims at the next meeting, or do you just want to leave it up to the council? You don't have to, the finance committee doesn't have to make a recommendation. But what you can request is the information be provided to the council prior to the meeting.
Okay. Then I would like to request that this information be available prior to the city council meeting of February 1st, 2022.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
Yes.
would I need to make a vote or a motion
No.
to have that done, or just a
No.
request?
You're good.
Okay.
no, you're good.
Okay, so moving forward, there was some concerns or conversation or discussion at our last city council meeting in regards to the MVH and local roads and street funds. And the information was provided to the finance committee and the council members from Controller Hoffmaster. I hope everyone had the opportunity to look that over. And I believe Councilman Paul Przybylski and Madam Dyke from the City Council, I will first open it up to the Finance Committee if they have any questions.
Well, I reviewed the information that we have here, and I see that we have more, the actual balance in the local road and street, and which is $593,000. Is that correct, Yvonne?
That is correct.
Okay, so those funds, I guess what I'm trying to get at is that money, according to this letter, now, are you planning on using that money to pay this outstanding bill? Is that what you're getting at on these, from this 2021-2 of the second matching funds for the Community Crossing Grant Program?
Yep, so you're asking me that?
Yeah, can you give me an explanation of what you're talking about in that last paragraph? That's what I'm asking you. What funds are you saying, okay, we got that amount of money? So what you're saying is that you're not dedicating that money for any kind of road maintenance or shipping, crack seal program. It's all going to be used to take care of the bills from paving. Is that what you're getting at?
Well, I put those numbers out there because that's what the council asked for. They wanted to know the funds that were available in those three fund numbers, in the MVH operating fund, and the local road and street, and the MVH restricted. So that's what those numbers represent. To talk about that last paragraph on this email, I did find out some information probably around 10:30 this morning when I spoke with NDOT and was informed that we will need to forfeit that grant money because the some of the procedures were not followed properly. So Mr. Wright and the mayor will be coming to the council asking for an additional appropriation to pay the balance of that Reith Riley bill that equals roughly $350,000. I don't have the exact number, but we will have to ask the council for an additional appropriation because we do have to forfeit those grant funds.
If I may, thank you, Controller Hoffmaster. I would like to acknowledge that we do have the city engineer on, Mr. Jeff Wright. If I may direct this to Mr. Wright, would you be able to elaborate on what was the neglect, or not, maybe that's not the word to use, what was the procedural process that was not implemented?
So the last half of 2021, there was the second call for projects for the CCMG. I made the application for the CCMG, submitted the roads and streets, and once the application was complete, I put together bid packages and sent those streets out for quotes and bids. We received the quotes and bids back, and subsequently the Board of Works, Michigan City, we issued and awarded the contract to Reith Riley. They were the low bidder. Before we commenced construction, we had just a real brief meeting in Yvonne's office, and I asked Yvonne and the mayor any reason not to proceed with the work because we knew we were going to get $338,000 from the CCMG. And we kind of looked at each other and thought, well, let's go get her done. So we awarded the contract, and Reith Riley went out there and built the project. And we knew that the funds were ultimately going to come back and replenish replenish the MVH fund or whatever. And so they completed the project, and then I'm going to say they completed it in, let's just say, mid-November. And then sometime in mid-November, NDOT awarded us the 300, and they sent us the award letter and says, we're going to give you $338,000, at which point I just thought everything was coming to plan. Mm-hmm. Subsequently, after that, in I'm going to say something like early December, and time is fleeting. I don't remember exact dates, that kind of thing. But I'm reading the application, and so everything sounds proper at that point. We applied for the funds. We issued the contracts out for bid. We got all the quotes back. We awarded to the low bidder. We went and built it. There is absolutely nothing outside the normal of doing that. And so and I keep saying we. So make no mistake about it, all right? CCMG lands on my desk. Okay, that's my deal. And subsequently, I'm reading the what's eligible for CCMG because I'm preparing for the first application for January. So I'm reacquainting myself with the rules, reacquainting myself with, what's eligible, what's not eligible. And somewhere in there, as I am reading the bullet points, it says that you can bid projects all day long. There's no reason you can't bid the project. But there's a line in the grant rules that say you can't award that project until the grant funds hit your bank account, until they're awarded. And I've read those rules a couple of times. It just honestly, it just didn't dawn on me that, and I'm like, well, why would you do that? Why can't we follow standard normal bidding procedure? But that's their rule. And so I called the state and I talked to my contacts at the state. I told them what I did, and they said, well, that can't possibly be a rule in the grant, because that's what they want you to do. They want you to bid the projects so that you know exactly how much to apply for. That's what they want. But the catch-22, the hook, and the hook that I got stuck with was, you're not allowed to award it. I didn't know that. We awarded it. We followed what we did every time. We bid the projects, we award the contract, or we go build it. But apparently that one criteria is you're not allowed to award that. You can bid them, you can hold on to them, you just can't award them. And that's what they want you to do. They don't, because when I make an estimate for a project, I overestimate it so that I can get as much money as I possibly can from the state. Well, what happens with that is that leaves, at the end of the day, when that project is ready to close out, that leaves $150,000, $200,000 of grant money sitting that we can't spend because I've overestimated it. And so we are always putting money, $150,000, $200,000, just bouncing back and forth between Michigan City and INDOT. It's money that if we had the bids, we could apply right up to the penny what we're supposed to get. So, and that's really what they want you to do, so that they're not bouncing back.
Right.
And they're not bouncing back $200,000 for every city in the state, every county, every municipality tied up, just bouncing money that back and forth. So moving forward, like I said, none of this, for lack of a better term, I'll fall on the sword. None of this falls on the mayor, okay? None of it falls on the mayor. None of it falls on Yvonne. I screwed it up. I just didn't know. I just didn't know. So, does that kind of answer what happened?
I thank you, Mr. Wright, for that detailed explanation and the accountability. But that just makes me go back just in future, internal control, understanding you have those conversations and meetings with the mayor and with the controller's office as well. And again, just keep in mind, keep that internal control just to double check everything before making anything that's to finalize anything, instead of moving forward without knowing or having all the information, all I's dotted, T's crossed. I would like to, Council.
Can I just say that, yes. I'm going to say, let me interrupt just real quick.
Yes.
That, yes, I've sat down with Yvonne and Mary Lynn, and we have done, tried to put some controls on. But I do want to mention just real quick that they've kind of changed their procedure with this DocuSign thing. And with this DocuSign, they want everything signed electronically. Now they're sending all that contract goes to the president of the Board of Works. The last time they sent the application or the contract, it went to Virginia. I had no idea that contract, so there's a contract between INDOT and the city that gets signed before we can request the funds. that got sent to Yvonne. Had no idea that contract ever went out the door of NDOT. She signs the thing and sends it back because she's been authorized to do that through a Board of Works meeting. I never saw that. I never saw it. Just happenstance, got lucky, got copied on an email. Virginia writes Amber and says, "Hey, would you like a copy of this contract?" And I'm like, wait a minute. CCMG lands on my desk. I don't really want to take, I just don't really want to take the heat for missing an email, if it's not totally on my table. So yes, Yvonne did her thing and said, this is what we can do to trap some of that. But this document, so we captured one thing, but we lost another.
Okay.
So now it's going to fall on Miss Keating to make sure that everybody's in the loop when that contract hits. Because I would just assume, thank you very much. I don't mind taking the heat for stuff that I'm responsible for. I was responsible for that. But if I miss something that doesn't come to me, that's not my deal.
Understandable. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Mrs. Councilwoman Deitch had her hand up.
Yes. So, excuse me. A couple of things. So, I understand the DocuSign issue, but this is the grant process. So, do we have a checklist of items because I don't think the process changed for the actual grant, has it?
No, just the signing of the document.
Okay. So, as far as the grant, do you have a checklist of? I'm assuming there is a list of items that it says the grant has to follow, and this hasn't changed in years. So, are you saying that it's just the timing? You never really you just went through the process, and the timing piece you just never. It always worked itself out.
Well, nobody can really explain why you have to wait for the grant funds.
But that's
nobody
the way
ever
it's always been, though.
I'm sorry?
But that's the way it's always been, though, right?
It has, yes, ma'am. It has absolutely been that way all the time, but it doesn't make any sense. There's no rhyme, there's no reason for it. And so it just didn't catch my
That's a financial control issue. That's why they want you to have the approval just in case they decide not to approve it. And now you've done the work, and now we're in this situation. So I just want to know, do you have an internal control now that has like a checklist of things that you'll do before? Because I just, we just don't want this to happen again. But I think.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I understand that. This particular issue won't ever happen again.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll defer to Mr. I'm done. That's all I had a question about.
Thank you. Councilman Dabney?
Yeah, isn't there an FAQ? Like Angie was saying, something that lays out the process of how to operate this grant. And we've done this before, because if that wasn't known, this probably would have happened in the past. This is the first time it happened. So now I want to see the FAQ. I mean, it's not that difficult.
It's not, Councilman. It's not. It didn't make any sense. I read the FAQ. It's out there. It's 2 pages, maybe 3 long. I know how to read. I'm an educated man. It didn't register because it doesn't make any sense why you can't bid a project and then award the contract. It just doesn't make any sense. And the people I talk to at the state, it doesn't make any sense because that's what they want you to do. They want you to bid it before you make the application so you can dial in to the penny. I mean, that's how it's supposed to work. But then there's this caveat that says you can't award that contract. So if we bid these in January, that contractor's going to hold his bid 5 months. So it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense.
I mean,
Mrs.
and I'm still on that with the question, and
Oh, yes, go ahead, Mr. Danny.
we're talking about this, and there's laughs and giggles. This is serious. We spent money we didn't have, and so now we're on the hook. How much money do we have to come back to the council to cover this? What was that dollar amount?
300. Controller Hoffmaster, if you could.
It's 300 and some thousand.
That's serious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking about it, and obviously we're going to have the controls going forward, but the controls are the FAQ. I'm on the same page as Councilwoman Dyke right now. You can't spend stuff out of your checking account you don't have, and that's exactly what Brad said.
I get it.
And not move forward. Hold on. So this is actually really serious, deadly serious here. I mean, what if we had projects that were much bigger and now we're looking at 500, 600,000? This is a serious hit to what we're trying to do. So hope to God this doesn't happen again. Need to be paying close attention to this, but this is deadly serious.
I agree with you, Mr. Dabney. And again, that's why I was saying that's one of the reasons that internal control is implemented, that another set of eyes to look at this, that it should have been caught before now.
Well, the reason I got it is because the reason I have the CCMG stuff is I could hand the contracts to Yvonne. She could read them. And honest to God, she's an intelligent lady, but half of the stuff in there, she's not going to know because she doesn't build roads. She's not going to know whether it's eligible or not eligible. I mean, that's my deal. That's why you have me. Now, if you don't want me, I mean, we can go talk to the mayor and we can find somebody else.
No,
I mean, that's
one's
fine.
not implying that, Mr. Wright. No one's implying or insinuating that. Not at all. Councilman Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just curious, just listening. I mean, it's obvious that there was just a omission with engineer rights. Just legit missing that. Is there a process where outside of the controller and the engineer, where the corporate counsel reviews documents like this prior to entering these agreements or anything like that? So there are another set of eyes who's trained to look for small things that get overlooked. Is that process in place, or is the corporate counsel not involved in these things? Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add to that? But again, going back to what Councilman Dabney said, the checklist, I think the corporate counsel and Virginia Keating on the Board of Works, I think as far as legalities and legalese, they get all that. But this was more really about the timing and the process, which is managed by Mr. Wright. And I think that we need to stop talking about, all these other things that are different, like, the way they sign it in Virginia Keating. This is strictly about, we went through a bidding process and we awarded it and started the work not in order. So I just want to make sure that moving forward, we can talk about all these different things that are not related, but it was surely a process thing that Yvonne, she's responsible for the financial piece, but this is about process and the timing. And we just need to make sure we have that FAQ and check off every box and say that we understand it and that we don't miss anything. I believe is really what we're looking at. All those other changes and things I get, but this is something that has consistently been done, or CCMG, it's been here for a long time. So we just need to make sure that the timing, that, everybody understands the timing of it and that it just doesn't happen again. I think it's a process thing more than anything, but it's a $350,000 or whatever item that we got to deal with, and I'm assuming it's going to be on the council agenda here soon to deal with. So,
in the interim, for lack of a better way, we kind of anticipated that we we might take a hit financially. So when we submitted for the last CCMG, we backed off. Well, I talked to Yvonne about it, and we backed off, and we came up with a number that we wouldn't like overgo next year's MVH budget. So over the course of the year, I'm not the financial guy, but over the course of the year, there will be money there available to cover that, to cover what's lacking.
I believe Ms. Hoffmaster wanted to say something. Go ahead, Controller Hoffmaster.
Yeah, and you know, I think Jeff will admit to this also. Him and I have been fighting back and forth on internal controls and how my office needs to be kept up with what he's doing. We want to know when you submit that grant. We want to know every communication you get about this grant. You know, so I think we have come to an agreement that Mr. Wright is just going to start forwarding all of his emails to my office. And that myself or one of my deputies has to sign off on anything we submit to to NDOT on this grant. We have internal controls in place for all of our other grants and have no problems. And you know, and I understand this one's gone through some changes with the way the city processes it. We used to pay like $300,000 a year to have an engineering company do all of this processing for us. So now we took all of this on ourselves. So and I think Mr. Wright just needs to and maybe he didn't understand our internal controls and what I was asking, but I think we're crystal clear now on what needs to be done. When he came to me, he says in August, he wanted to know if there was money appropriated for the local match. And at that time, yes, there was. And we have paid that local match to Reith Riley for a portion of this outstanding invoice. Okay. So what's outstanding on this invoice would have been the grant money.
Thank you, Controller Hoffmaster.
So we're covering both.
Mr. Councilman Dabney?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairwoman, but so we're covering both. We paid the match, and now we got to come and pay the grant portion too.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay. I'll close out on this. I would like to just ask the Finance Committee, do you have any more questions? I see none. I will then go to ask any of the council members that is present. I'm sorry, Councilman Paul Przybylski.
Yeah, I just want to make an observation in that I think that I don't want to, I think Mr. Wright's been forthcoming on the what happened, and also that here's the way I want to say this, is that I think there's particular percentage of blame to go all around, but I do believe that there should be some legal review of these contracts and grants. So I do believe that since it's going through the Board of Works, is that the city legal department should be given a once over on anything that we're putting out for grants. And if you want to create a checklist for that, I believe that that's another step, because the way I interpret this is that, yeah, it was a oversight on language, or look, and I'm not making light of the monetary issue, okay. But if the thing changes, if they change language in the grant, somebody needs to sit down and review it. And what I'm getting at is that we got a lot of qualified people, and to make sure that things are right, more than one set of eyes should be looking at it, and, you know, have maybe set up a review meeting before it goes out. And that's my observation, and I think that be more efficient in look at these things. So yeah, I understand the money portion of it, and but I also think Jeff saves us. Jeff's been doing a pretty diligent job in his responsibilities. So I think that in the future, this stuff can be worked out between departments. And also, I would like to say this: where does the city planner hang in this? I mean, you know, is the city planner involved with this? And maybe he should be involved with this. So anyway, Jeff, I appreciate your forthcoming and that. Yeah, we got to pay the bill, so we got to find the money, and hopefully they'll find it somewhere besides the riverboat fund. Thank you.
So you guys, the council actually put their own little control on it when you guys voted to have all grants come before the council, you know, for review, you know, prior to submitting it. That's almost that's like a top level control before, you know. So I'm just saying you guys put you added a level of control at that point. So that's all.
Councilwoman Dyke?
So, just to add to that, so the control that we added, that's not what I want to comment on, but the control that we added is just to make sure that we know that something has been submitted and how much the match is before, so that we can pre-approve any match. It has nothing to do with the process of the day-to-day and how to turn the grant in and how to follow the process of implementing that grant and all the documentation as far as the bids and all of that. So I just wanted to straighten that out a little bit. But the second thing that I wanted to talk about was totally away from this, and it's Controller Hoffmaster and Councilwoman Tracy Tillman, on our agenda, can we put a standing item on the Finance Committee agenda for any ordinances, just a standing item that is any ordinances or resolutions pertaining to finance automatically be discussed at your Finance Committee meeting? Because we did receive several items on Wednesday, and I would ask Controller Hoffmaster if we could get those prior to the day of, so that if you need sponsors, if you can get them to us, a few days before, because there are a couple that are going to have several, questions about, one being the grant match, for the economic development grant match, and the explanation of that, and it'd be a good time to cover those things here, because there's a funding policy one, bad debt. I mean, there's quite a few items that, and I didn't have a copy of the agenda. I didn't know if there's a standing item or not, but we might want to do that going forward so we can get those questions answered.
Okay.
So I think there's just to be, for the sake of, there's a resolution for a grant approval for the EDA grant that is on the agenda. And there is I'm trying to see if there's another one. There's an encumbrance resolution that is also on the agenda. And I am not sure what the agenda for the Finance Committee if it was very specific or not, or if it was open for us to be able to discuss that. I don't have the agenda. Can we discuss those?
I don't have that open in front of me at this time.
So I don't know if Controller Hoffmaster, if you're prepared to discuss those two items.
Yes, I am.
Okay, the two resolutions. So there was one for an EDA grant submission, and then the encumbrance one, because the resolutions don't go through 3 readings. So I didn't know if we could discuss what those are.
Yep. So we had several. The first one on the agenda is amending Resolution 4737, authorizing petty cash and cash change funds. So that one pertains to, we have a resolution out there, what we allocate into the petty cash or the change funds for the different departments that collect cash. And the park department came to us in late fall after they had closed down all of their operations and asked if we could increase their bank for the parking change fund. Because last summer, the assistant superintendent was running to the bank on some days 3 or 4 times to get change. So we increased that change bank for the parking operation at the park department. So that's what that resolution is about. The next one pertaining to this office is approving the submission of application for a grant for the City of Michigan City from the U.S. Economic Development Administration and supporting the local match for said grant. And I believe we've talked about this a little bit in the past. So we have commissioned Baker Tilly to help us apply for a grant from the EDA, the Economic Development Administration, to extend the infrastructure, specifically water and sewer, out to the annex property on the east side of town. So as part of the grant application, we have to submit a resolution from the council. That's one of the submitting documents required. So that's why there's not a lot of specifics in here. We are eligible right now for 2 grants through them. One of them is through ARPA funds, which is an 80-20, which would require a 20% match. And the other one is, I believe they called it like a construction grant, and that's a 50-50. So, and with the new final rule, they have changed that ARPA funds can be utilized as local match for federal grants now. So I just wanted to put that out there. So what this is just asking is the council supports us submitting this grant and that they would supply the local match, excuse me, if we were awarded this grant. And there's multiple places that we have available to us to get this local match. And the last one is, it's just required by the State Board of Accounts that that the council approve a resolution for the encumbered funds. And these are outstanding purchase orders that were appropriated in the 2021 budget that we carried forward because the contracts are still in place and have not been fully implemented. So what you will see on here, I included the ARPA fund because the council is responsible for allocating all of those funds. So what is on there is everything that the council allocated through the ARPA plan last year. So we've only been able to purchase one piece of equipment, and that was one of the vehicles for the fire department. So all of the other allocations are outstanding. So that's what those purchase orders represent. And then we had one purchase order from the riverboat, and that was Haas and Associates engineering contract because they are in the middle of a project with engineer Wright, with Jeff Wright. So we encumbered that $25,000 from their contract from last year. And then the last one that's under the resolutions, As you're all aware, we transferred the Barker Mansion back to the Barker family. So there was a cash balance in that fund at the end of the year of a little over $400,000. So this is now a dormant fund. So we need a resolution from the council stating that this fund is now dormant and that money can then be transferred to the general fund. And like I said, that was a little over $400,000.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilman Paul Priscalinski.
I would like to ask, Yvonne, where are her other funding sources for this, grant for this infrastructure improvement to the east side of Michigan City on 420 acres?
Well, we have two. The council could allocate the money from ARPA funds, or we have the riverboat. They could go to the riverboat and help with the local match.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Does the Finance Committee have any other questions? If not, does any other council members have any other question? I don't see anyone. Caleb, is there anyone from the public that's on that have any question or comments?
I see.
Okay. Well, with that, before we close out, I'll just like to end. First and foremost, thank you all for attending our first financial meeting of 2022. I look forward to working with the Finance Committee. I'm looking forward to working with Controller Housemaster, with everyone's insight, inputs, based off of information that's gathered, obtained, and that is provided to us in order to have a better financial structure for the city of Michigan City. With that being said, I would like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Chair,
Thank you, everyone, and stay warm.
thank you.
Thank you.